Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today we're continuing on with our project that is provided to us by Susanna from Vintage Blend Studios. Each month she gives us a prompt and we're up to the third month and we're going to be looking at English paper piecing. Susanna's done her video which gives you some fantastic tips and hints on how to piece together your display. She's also provided some different shapes, and you will know that I haven't done a lot of English paper piecing, which I mentioned in the last video. I did do some in my Christmas journal. Now, how that came to be is I was watching Kate from the last Homely House. She went to a UK quilt expo and there was a gentleman there, I cannot remember his name, and he had created a wall hanging where the hexagons, the paper was the feature and the fabric just peeked over the edge, and I loved it. I thought it was brilliant. So I tried a little bit of it in my display here for my Christmas prompt, which I think was Vintage Image from memory. But anyway, it's getting beside the point. So I want to explore this again because I really enjoyed the concept of having the papers as a feature within the hexagon itself. So joining them together is a bit, it was okay. I'm not the best at it. The old eyesight's not real helpful there, but there's so many tips and hints out there on how you could do it if you really wanted to get into this style of sewing. But I can't see me making a quilt any day, but I do love the effect that it gives. So the plan is to create something on my next page for my journal using the hexagon. Now, Susanna did give us a couple shapes that you could do all sorts of things with. I'm just going to focus on the hexagon at this stage just to, well, I think we'll see. We'll get started, and I have a feeling I will stick with the hexagon, but who knows? It could go anywhere. So I did measure this hexagon. I was going to cut it out, and then I thought, I'll just check with some of my little templates, and it's so close to the 1-inch hexagon template that I have. So I'm not going to cut it out. I'm going to leave it there and use this as my little template. The fabric will be cut to the outer edge and the paper will be cut to the inner edge. Now, I believe they are a little bit bigger than the ones I used in the Christmas journal. I think I used a smaller hexagon. Where's my little templates? Yeah, I did. It is a 3/4 of an inch hexagon in the center with a 1/4 of an inch seam. So that's what I used in that case. But this one, I'm going to go a little bit bigger. Now, the plan is to do the same. Paper, highlight the paper more so than the fabric. But I think I will do some that are in reverse because I found this fabric and I really want to focus on script. So my plan is to not only use script as in paper, but I'm hoping I can pinch a few hexagons out of this as well. So let's get started. Now I need a pen. So this will be seen on the front of the hexagon. So the traditional way, with the fabric being the feature. So the hexagon I need inside really only needs to be plain paper for this one. So while we're at it, I'm going to do it rough cut. I want it to feel quite textured, layered, thick, lumpy and bumpy, freehand. So I'm not going to use a wheelie, what do they call them? The blades that spin. I'm going to just, I'm really looking forward to log cabin because I've always made them with the cutter and the mat and very precise, but I really want to make a rough cut version of that. It'd be interesting to see how it goes, how the shape will have movement in it. It won't be so precise. So I'm just going to put this little set together because it will be used, concentrating as I cut there. So that will go in there. Now this gentleman that made the quilt, his basting was also a feature. He left the stitches in that hold this piece in place, which I thought was such a fantastic idea. Now I'm going to place a little bit of Quilter's Companion here, glue, in the centre there, just for now, and then I'll take them to my iron. I won't bore you with that, and iron all of my seam allowances over that paper. So they will be ironed like so, and there'll be a little extra this glue added just to hold them down, but I'll finger press it for now just so you get the idea. But an iron will really make short work of that. It's very soft fabric, so I probably haven't picked the easiest of fabrics to work with, but I think we can pull this off. Yeah, that will work. Once I iron and glue that into position, that will be my first hexagon, and the stamp is the feature. Okay, so let's have a look through this fabric and see if we can find some other little corner where we can nibble out a, maybe there. Oops. So let's pop our hexagon on there. Let's draw around him. Got some nice script. If you want to see a beautiful quilt, Kate from Last Homely House, she's been working on a quilt for 3 years doing hexagons, and it's turquoise and teals and blues and into purples. It's for her granddaughter, and it is stunning, absolutely stunning. I've only found her probably about 18 months ago, so I went back and found all the videos that she's done showing her progress, and wow, she's at the final stage now where she's got it all pinned to, stitched together. The hexagons are all joined, and she's now doing the top stitching, the quilting of it, and she's just using a simple grid that slices through the hexagons in a sort of an ordered fashion, and oh, the work, my goodness, she has hand stitched that thing together. It's been growing on the back wall of her home, so it's been fun to sort of watch it quietly grow in the background. So this is another one that's going to be, the fabric is the front, a traditional, I should not be cutting paper with those gold scissors. You're probably screaming at me going, Corrine, they're your fabric scissors. I think I cut that hexagon out with them, didn't I? I did. Naughty, naughty. Okay. So let's flip that over. But if you just Google onto YouTube, if you just go onto YouTube, not Google, and have a look at videos of English paper piecing, my goodness, there's heaps and heaps and heaps. Some very creative people out there. There's channels just dedicated to it. Oh, goodness. Hats off to them. Okay, so there's another one. Now, I did want to work into my scenario. I might leave it at that for now. I've got to get the general gist of that. But I grabbed out some papers. I've got some Florentine paper, so I'm pretty interested in playing with that. Then I've just got some general paper. These are the ones I used in the Christmas journal. As you can see, that's where I nibbled out the hexagon. So the paper is the feature. So I just need the inside edge. So let's, is that nice enough paper? I think so. Don't know what it says, but do I like that enough? Yeah, I think so. I want that number showing. I need to come back a little bit from the edge because the fabric will fold in. So I'll just do that. As for the fabric I will use to edge this, I'm not sure. I might just get him in position because he's a paper feature hexagon. It's not a fabric one. So I might just get him down on my panel and we'll see what colour. So let's assume that he goes there for now. So we're going to need a fabric that can slide in around him that complements the others. So we'll come back to that. I think we'll just grab some nice featured. Gee, I hope that's good English. Like, who knows what that is being said there. Anyway, well, I can't read it, so I guess I'm not going to take offence, but if I ever learn Italian and find out that that's a poor story that you really wouldn't want, I guess we'll have to cover it up. Okay, this little guy is done. So we'll just pop him there for now. Who knows where he'll end up, but that's a good start. Now, I think, do we want red this time? There is script on the back here from someone. I think we want some of that. I like the idea that that's part of it. Someone's writing. Nearly picked up fabric scissors, but I didn't. Probably the damage is done. Are you precious about your fabric scissors? I should be more precious, and it's only myself that uses them, so I'm the naughty one if there's going to be someone use them when they're not meant to be using fabric scissors on paper. It's only I. Okay, so let's pop him there. All right, now I do want to have a play with some of this, what do they call it? Gone blank. Florentine paper. I got a pack of it from Rachel, Roxy Creations, ages ago, and I'd like to work some of that in as well. And I think it'll sort of set the tone for the colours. I do like that one. Picking up the blues. Do I keep it all blue? I don't know. Let's get one of these out anyway. The flower's pretty there. If you want to do English paper piecing and you're worried about the design and you want a certain thing to appear in the center, you seem to waste a lot of fabric. I've noticed when I've watched YouTube channels where they've created an image, you know, perfectly placed in the center. There was one learning, so I thought, oh, how beautiful it was. But when I started watching The video is like, oh, yes, you do waste a little. Now, Susanna had a piece of embroidery worked into hers as well, which I thought was a lovely idea. So I might have to go looking for something that might fit. I don't know where I want it. Doesn't matter, probably overthinking it. What other papers do we have here that might suit? It's an interesting one. I guess the other thing I need to have a think about is what background is behind it all too. I wonder if I've got an embroidery that I could sneak a flower out of. I'll leave it at that for a moment. I could always come back and, well, what about a lace? What about a lace one? Would that be hard to stitch? Might be. Might have to put the lace on something. Just excuse me for a second, guys. I'm going off on a tangent here. And I'm just looking through my bucket of tricks. This lace has appeared already in my journal. I wonder, can I create a hexagon out of that? Or will it wriggle around too much? Oh yeah. I'm going to give it a go. What can go wrong? What possibly could go wrong? Nothing that a stitch won't hold into position. And if I let it be all bubbly, I'm going to cover those flowers if I don't think about the position of this. I want a couple little flowers at least. All right, we'll give it a go. I can't even. What I might do, here's a better idea. I'm going to draw my hexagon on here first and not cut it out. Then I'm going to stitch that onto it with the invisible stitch, and then I know it's not going to wriggle, and then I'll cut it out and then I'll edge it. So I'm going to go, oh, it's a proper English, Corrine. I'm going to reinforce the hexagon first by stitching that down, then cut it out, if that makes sense. So then I'll have a lacy little hexagon. I don't know if this will work, but I think it will. Give it a go. Yeah. So I'll stitch it all down so it becomes one. Then I will probably flip it over, cut my hexagon out, and then I'll have a lacy hexagon in there. Now, let's assume that that little fellow is now on our page. Where's he going to go? We'll pop him in there. So I wonder if that's enough. What are we going to do for background? Let's get to the fabric in the box. Maybe we do something neutral. We haven't used the stripes yet. What's that look like underneath this? That could work, you know. We cut a piece of fabric out in the red, and that becomes the background to our hexagons. I like that. So the next question is, the paper ones, what fabric do we edge them in? I might have to go digging for that. I've got nothing that comes to mind. I wonder if it needs to be a blue. Or does it need to be a red? I don't know. All right, so we've got our hexagons at least started. Got a bit of a plan anyway. Let's cut out a piece of this red. I think it's what I'd class as a bit of a neutral background, so that the hexagons should still pop. So I'm just going to, do we want stripes going up or stripes going across? Am I overthinking it? Probably. We're going to go stripes going across because it just doesn't use as much fabric then. And I'm going to, what have I got a fold there, have I? I should be doing it on this edge, not chopping into the folded area. There we go, that's better. Okay, gonna lay that on there. And just cut my background out. Alright, I finally got to work a bit of red stripe into my journal, into my project. So I'm going to have to go digging, I think, for a fabric that will complement. I don't think there's anything in there. No, not really. I'll put this Florentine paper away because I don't think I'm going to need any more than that. I think if I'm going to do more, it's going to be lacy ones because I like that idea of the lace coming into it. So that'll be all folded under. That's some pins, can't hurt, hey? Pop that there and there. Okay. I sort of need to get to the iron, I think, as well, and get these all sort of in position, but let's assume that he is there. Or do I bring him into there? I don't know. I think it'll come together once I start stitching these hexagons together. Do I meander across the page? What fun. And then we've got our lacy one. He could go in anywhere. Yeah, this is going to come together. But I do need to do a little bit more homework. I need to find a fabric. There was a mustardy coloured scrap in here. How does that look in amongst it? That works. Oh, there's a bit of it too. So let's have a look at a hexagon in this mustard for one of the papers. And maybe I look for more of those sorts of tones. Don't know. Could even use muslin too because it would work. But it might be a little bit matchy-matchy. Let's get this little guy cut out and see which one it best suits. Now the other thing I need to think about is a highlight basting stitch. In the last project, the Christmas one, I used red, where you stitch around the edge in a highlight stitch, that also becomes a feature of your piece. I'll do like that. So that would come over. And that would come over as all of that tucks in. So that becomes a mustard outer ring. Could even look good with, oh, I like it with the blue too. Yeah. See, you can really play with hexagons. So, love it, love it, love it, love it. This is going to be great. Okay, how are we going? 25 minutes. I think you got the general gist of what I plan to do. I wonder if I could do a beige edge to some of these as well. Yeah, I think I've got better fabrics than the muslin. I'll find something. So the plan is to find some fabric for the paper ones. I think I might need a couple more fabric ones in there as well. So I probably need to have a little bit of a hunt around. This fabric here might work. That was in the previous. Bit of text. I'll find something. Oh, the other one I've got that might be of interest is I've got labels. Hang on. This one here is an interesting panel. And there might be an actual image that I could drag out. Anything blue? Not really. Purples and greens. No, nothing there. Music. There you go. What about music? I don't mind that one. How much would you see of it? Probably lose. Oh, that's pretty. Okay, let's cut him out. Music notes. I'm sure I've got music fabric that would be in arm's reach. Let's have a look at this one first and see if we can capture. See in that label there's a well, I thought it was a paintbrush. Was it needles into a pink, or who knows? I don't know. But I think we could capture that. Is it pretty enough to capture? Certainly picks up on the red. Look, we'll outline it. I won't cut it out yet. I sort of want to go rummaging a little bit more. The other thing I thought too is we probably could do with a embroidery in amongst it. Let me grab my box of embroideries. One moment. It'd have to be a tiny embroidery. Susanna had a big centerpiece to highlight, so it was sort of suited it beautifully. Now I'll just bring this into shot. I've got in here just scraps of embroideries that I could potentially use. What if we create an embroidery? That's an option. Let's put that to one side, just in case there's nothing here that suits our colour tones. Everything's very fresh in here, like fresh colours. It's a bit muted. It's finding something that works with our palette. That's where it gets tricky, because everything in the way of doilies was usually bright and fresh and pretty. Yeah, see, it's very primary colours. That one there's not bad, but the wrong shape. I wonder if he could be... I'll have a look at him, but I don't really have yellow happening here. It's all very fresh, fresh, fresh. Okay, got two ideas. Let me just get that out of the way. All right. I guess if we don't have an embroidery that suits, we create one, don't we? I like that idea. And I could stitch that. So let's get our hexagon on there. I won't cut it out because I'm going to need it to have a bit of structure for my hands to hold it. So that will be embroidered in a colour, which I don't know yet what that will be. And then he will be in amongst all of this. I don't know about this guy. I sort of feel like I've got too much red and not enough blue. I'll just leave him to one side. I may or may not need him. What about this yellow rose? This sort of doesn't work, does it? Or does it, now that I bring that in? Where's my little frame? How much would we lose? How much would we gain? I don't think by the time that fabric folds in, the little itty bitty buds would work, but it's too nice of a piece to use, I think. Back into the box. Okay, I've got enough here to start work on. Like I said, I'm not going to show you the joining of them, the stitching together. Watch Susanna's video. She explains everything really, really well. And there's so many out there. So even if you just watch a few videos, everyone's got different techniques and styles. It'll sink in if you sort of scoot around and have a look at some other ones. So I will prep these and try and find a fabric that complements this whole thing, like I did with this mustard one. I think I need to find like a blue, pick up on these blues a little bit more. Then I'll start stitching it together and I'll create a piece. It won't fill the whole scene. It'll be like a bit of an abstract, bit here, bit there type of construction. And then I will look at some embellishing on top of it to sort of build up the story, some lace and things like that. So we're 30 minutes into it. I will stop the video here, prep all these so I've actually got a feature piece that's all attached. That's what I did with the Christmas one. I built it and then I had this element then that I could sort of play with. So I'll find some matching fabrics, some cotton to do some highlight stitching and build a piece. And then I can have a think about what I actually do to the background, whether it needs some stitching as well, and what then I lay on top of this to sort of start collaging it all together. All right, guys, I will see you in a second, but it will be probably quite a few days for me. Anyway, I will leave you all now and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back. Overnight has happened. A few seconds for you, but an evening for me. I finished all my little hexagons. I'll show you those in a moment. What I'm doing at the moment is I've added a piece of lace to my background. So I just picked one of my really, really wide laces and cut a section off. And you can see that you can still see the red stripes, but it's just softened the background and added a layer of interest. I sort of felt like it just needed something before I started collaging the hexagons onto the surface. So I'm just working down through the center at the moment. I've gone around the side with some invisible stitches just to hold it, and now I'm just sort of scooting through the center just to make sure that lace doesn't wriggle around on me as I start the next process. So that's done. Then I'll show you my hexagons. Everything went to plan. They stitched together really well. Really happy with the way they came together. I did the little embroidery. That's that one there. That was easily achieved. The lace hexagon, that came together really well. I ended up just got to thread this needle here. I end up stitching the lace onto some calico first, like I thought I'd need to. And then once it was nice and secure, I then turned it over so that I was looking at the, where is it? This one. So that I was looking at now the calico. Then I laid my hexagon shape on and cut it out so that it was the right size. Then I went and found this mustard and cut it out and then turned it over onto the lace and top stitched it down. Now you can see I've top stitched them all. They've all got the cream cotton as a feature, and I've joined together a few of them, leaving a few spare to sort of play with. I sort of think I need them drifting. Now I did have a bit of an idea of a design, but since then I've sort of been playing with it and mucking around with it, and I've come up with another design. I took a photo of it so that I didn't forget, because I was just about to film. That's it there. So I'll just leave that for a second. So I had that there. This little guy here. And then, oops, nearly deleted the picture. That would be disappointing. This was one you didn't see me do. I went back to that fabric that had this on it and found some numbers. So I wanted to tuck that under there so it looks like they're joined, but the lace is dividing them. Somehow I did that. Looked really tricky at the time. And this little guy, I thought we could just tuck in there. So it looks like the lace is sort of between them all. So that was the plan. Okay, so now it's a case of stitching them down. Now how are we going to do this? I might pin there and there. I'll stick to the fabric ones with a pin because I don't want to pin through the paper. So I'm going to try and keep the hexagons lined up as if that would connect into there, but it's sort of drifted away. So that means this one needs to turn a little bit, and that one should be okay there. Where's another pin? You could have a lot of fun with these hexagons when you start bringing in different substrates or different fabrics and things like that. Okay, so that's pretty good. I'm happy with that. Now, I want to embellish it. I want to add more layers. Let's pretend that they're stitched down and forever in position. What can we do to add more feature? I'm just looking across my desk here at a pile of bits and lace and doilies, and here's a little bit of Osmoberg. It's probably, is it the right colour? Let me bring that back up into shot a bit more. What are we going to do with this? Do we need it? Of course we need it. I've got my bucket of doilies nearby too. Wouldn't it have been cool if I had hexagon lace? I don't mind that. Just adds a little bit of interest. Do we? Just excuse me as I go quiet and think. Sort of like that flower. This would have to be the simplest one I've done, I think. I'm usually going crazy with the added bits, but yeah, I prefer that. That's nice. I like that. Just a few layers of things just to create a little bit of interest. I think they are too stark and they're competing with it. Like when I look at that, that's all I see. So I don't think they're right. I think I want something that's probably a little bit more subtle in tone. I don't know. You know, I really like how this flower here is coming through. I don't know if I want to, I'm just looking through my doilies for a more neutral tone. This I cut the center out of it. I wonder if that's, well, that's interesting. I sort of feel like I need then a feature. Which maybe that goes up there. No. Nope. Got some little ones here. I love that one. The colour's less. It's not as bright as that one. Maybe that goes underneath these two. So it's sort of there, but in the background. Then you'd have to ask, is it necessary? Don't know. Let's just have a play. I think it's competing, but then slow stitch is a bit that way. You think that you don't want something and then you put another layer on and it just looks amazing. The more that sort of happens, the better they look. It's a bit of an interesting concept, slow stitch. I don't know. Maybe I'll just leave it at that. It looks plain. It doesn't look like me. Less is more, Corrine. That was the motto for the year, but maybe I'm not a less is more person. Maybe I'm a keep adding because you're a lunatic type of person. No, see, they're the wrong colours. Wrong. Maybe I need, what do I need? Do I need anything? What's in there? See, those rectangles. No, now I'm messing it all up. See, I try to be organised, and when I cut these up, I like layered them on top of each other so that they were same designs, and I'm messing things up. Of course, what's this lace here looking at me? See, I don't mind that. This edge, maybe I do an embellishment through there. That'd create a little bit of interest. That's the edge of the page, so I'm liking that because that'll give it a nice little crocheted edge. Do I go right through or do I just join in there? Yeah, I like that. Don't mind that just being a little bit more naked down there. Okay, that's in. Because my fold is here. So to have that peeking out, that crocheted lace is a good thing. So I'll just try and pop a few pins in there. The colour works well with it too, with that lace. It's got that cream. Now the plan with these is just to pop some stitches in the center where I can, like that lacy one. I could stitch in there and you'd never know. The ones that have a decorative center like paper and things like that, I'll aim for the seam where they're joined. to get them down on my paper. Got a little bit of cotton here. Might get a bigger piece. So now it's time to stitch it all down. I had considered doing a canvas stitch through everywhere. I sort of felt like it needed to be quite clean, the background, and let the hexagons pop. So I'm just going to now bring my needle up in the center, those hexagons, and stitch some little right through the center. That'll tack them down. Then I can have a think about the edges of the hexagons and what stitch I can use to secure them. Do I do a whip stitch? Do I make a feature of it? Or do I keep it as invisible as I can? Don't know. We'll see how we go, but it should come together pretty straightforward. Most of the hard work's done now. I don't think there'll be a second video with this piece. It's come together quite quickly. Usually I've been doing 2 videos with Susanna's blocks, but this one's only going to be a single video because I have a feeling by the time I stitch all this down, there won't be a lot more I will do. Oops, completely missed the center there. Doesn't matter. Yeah, that's going to work there, not going to go anywhere. I won't bore you with any more of that. I'm just thinking, is there some lace scraps somewhere on my table that I could lay a piece of lace on top of these hexagons without taking away from the hexagons? So I'm just going to finish this little line of stitching off. And I know there, I could have probably put the top stitch on the hexagon and stitched the back to the background to it as well in one move. That would have been something. I didn't think of that. Doesn't matter. I sat there with hexagons on my lap last night stitching. And I did enjoy it, actually. I enjoyed it more than the cross stitch. Cross stitch was fun because I was inventing a scene with the little birds. This was a little bit more mindless and wasn't too bad. Wouldn't want to do a whole quilt, mind you. Okay, so I've just run a little stitch down following the hexagon there, and that's going to work beautifully. So I'm pretty confident that will work. Now, I just want to have a little rummage through my lace and see if there's something decorative that could go across it all. This one here is the lace bucket I want to have a look in. It's whether there's a... Maybe you could put a few little flowers on there. Just a little hint of something. I like that idea. Why not? Now, let's try and snip these. These are like confetti. We're just gonna take a chunk of them. Let's turn my phone off. I just have a feeling it's about to ring. Okay, let's take this little guy. You see there's a flower there, a leaf. So I'm gonna cut him out. We'll see how far we can make this little piece go. Maybe just a hint of them around, like they're growing out of it. Yeah, I like that. That little guy there sort of gives that blue one a little something. Let's have a look. See if we can divide this little guy off. Tuck him in there. So it looks like he's coming from behind. Okay, we can get another piece there of this little cluster, and that there looks like it could be separated. That's a leaf connected to there. Yeah, I like it. Yeah. That looks too obvious. Let me leave that. I like that. Just a little, you can never have too much lace. Just a little extra something. Let's get a pin or two into these so that they don't go anywhere. You could keep going. You could seriously find another lace and then layer that in as well and just keep going. It'd become quite an interesting piece then if you had lots and lots of layers of things happening. But I do like that. Yeah, I do like that. So that just needs to be all stitched down. So that's pretty simple. I've still got a scrap of this left. No, put it away, put it away. So I'll keep my needle here for a second. I just want to place it in the book and see how it looks. So it's going here. There we go. Oh, yeah. Oh, I couldn't have planned that better. Let me zoom out a little bit. Yeah. Oh, I love how that's there. And it's picked up across the page. Beautiful. Yeah, I like that. Really, really happy with it. This is the benefits of staying within a colour range. You can sneak around a little bit, but our palette is those blues, the reds, a little bit of green. Yeah, and then you'll find that it just all blends together. I was just looking at this little flower here, and I'm wondering if we drift him onto this page to sort of try and connect the two. Do we need to? I think we need to at least consider it, if I can see where that little guy got to. Is he in here? Don't think he is. He might have got thrown in there after that piece was created. Nope. Is he still in this bucket where he should be? I love laces that have flower components to them because it's just like frosting on the cake. You know, when you put all your little flowers on the cake, little butterflies there. Haven't used them yet. I got all this from a lady that was destashing, and she was making children's clothing, headbands and things. I'm just standing up for a second, trying to see if I can find that cotton lace. Someone asked me how I store my laces. Well, that's a interesting idea, storage. Do I have a system? yes and no. I try and keep fabrics like that in a container that's just, you know, plain fabrics. Anything that's really small and has been chopped into, I keep in this, and it's a tidy tray. See, there's plain fabric that's got mixed up. It's a tidy tray that has a handle on it. So that's sort of how it all became portable for me when I went to, say, sit in the couch. So that becomes my little go-to when I need snippets of things. See, there's plain fabric in there that shouldn't be. Plain fabric, plain fabric. Really could do with a clean up. So I just sort of leave random things in there. It's a real good jump in and grab morsels type of space. Then, because I picked up some lace from a lady that was destashing, and I haven't yet wound it onto like a bobbin or something, like even that's organised, wound onto just a piece of cardboard. Plain fabric needs to be over there. So there's a few of them in there. Plain fabric. So I sort of haven't wound them yet, and I should. I just started diving into them. Well, that's 2 containers just with loose laces that have 20 centimeters or a meter, and some random rolls of lace in there. I wish they were all wound. I should do that one evening. Just, you know, get them in there. And then the last container, so that's a plain fabric container, a scrappy one, then meterage of lace, not big meterage, but you know, at least I know when I grab those 2 boxes, I've got, you know, a bit of meterage. And this is just big doilies that I'm happy to snip into. So they're in here to grab. There's a bit of mix of things in there, pieces of fabric with lace trims. They're just can be chopped into, not too concerned about them. Have used them in something and would probably use them again. So that's like a lace collar. So yeah, that's just a slightly bigger container for chopping. Then from there, I've got it really organized. I've got containers that hold a theme of fabric, and they are like snapped together, not cross stitch. They're big enough to hold scrapbook paper, 12 inch by 12 inch, and I've got a heap of them. And I just keep in there certain types of fabric. So this might be all the linens and hemps and big pieces of lace and doilies and things like that. And these are just stacked on top of each other because they sit nicely on top of each other. I haven't ever labelled them because I can see clearly what's in them anyway. So I haven't bothered with labelling, but it's a really good way of storing not only a project. Gee, I've got off on a tangent now. So for example, this is my William Morris project. In the container, the thread's in there, the piece of embroidery that I did is in there. So if I want to pick this project up again, at least I know the ingredients for that is there. So that's the process, I guess, of storage. So on my desk is 3 or 4 containers that I can just quick grab when I'm filming a video. Then I've got the big 12 inch by 12 inch boxes around the room in categories. These little guys, these are like makeup drawers with little drawers, you know, you pull them out, and they're just a nice flat way of viewing crocheted medallions. So I've got a little container of those just with different shapes and styles. And what else can I show you? Oh, to store all the projects that I'm working on at the moment. These I got from Officeworks, so they're not as big as the 12 inch by 12 inch. These are more A4 size. So these are like probably 34 centimeters or inches, probably about 13 inches by 10.5 inches, but they are not that wide, 2 inches wide. They have a little handle, they're stackable, and a project goes inside. So that's probably my storage. I love the bead storage containers. It's not Elizabeth Arden, it's something else. I don't know. Can't remember the name of them. I'll just grab one. That's these guys. These need to go back to their tray, but they give you a nice little bite-sized pack of beads, and then through the clear lid you can see them all lined up. So I love, love, love these. What else? I think that's probably about it. So that's the general storage of things in my world, if you were asking the question. I do have these containers too. These are also at a stationery store in Australia, Officeworks. These are like a clear Perspex index card holder. They would have put index cards in them, lid opens, and I love them for crocheted cottons. And maybe I've bought some cottons that I haven't wound onto a spool yet, like these guys. So it keeps the dust off of them. It's got plenty of space for when I use a colour, I can wind them in there. My business card of where I got them's in there. So it's sort of, yeah, they're not cheap, but it's taken me quite some time to, I just pick up one here and there so it doesn't feel as bad. But I have like this circular gondola that we were using in my Christmas stores, and I had a spare one, so I brought it home. And it sort of works because it's against a wall, so one side of it's not as easy, but it does spin, but it is on carpet, so it doesn't spin. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked here now. But it holds 2 of these on every side, and then there's about 6 or 7 layers of them. So it actually holds quite a lot of those Perspex containers. Took me forever to find a container that was suitable, but yeah, I did eventually, and it's perfect to hold crochet cottons. And that's not taking into account, you know, I've always got these types of containers just to hold threads. So yeah, that's it. So pretty much a couple baskets on the desk with morsels in it. The 12 by 12 scrapbook box to hold chunks of fabric, dust-free, easily viewed. Then these hold threads, not to mention normal floss threads. And then these hold actual projects. And of course, if the project's a lot bigger, I can always go to those 12 by 12 Perspex plastic containers. What was the other thing I showed you? Oh, the drawers, makeup drawer, stackable pull-out little plasticky things. They're always handy. Got a few of those around the place. But that's about it. I do have a couple pieces of bedroom furniture in my room. They've just come from bedroom suites where, you know, you get the bed and then you get a tall boy and a set of drawers and things like that. And I've had them for years. Now houses tend to have robes and the shelving is all built into them. So I've just had these pieces that are no longer really needed with the bedroom suite. I think the bed's gone into a spare room, and I've got a tall boy and a set of drawers. So I use those to hold my fabric in one, so I can pull open this big tall boy and I see all of the fat quarters lined up. And what was the other thing I use in my room? Oh, back in the day when I had a sewing corner, I had the sewing cabinet, you know, where it all folds out and then this machine pops up from the center. I've got one of those in my room. I don't use it much. I've always felt that I was too tall for it, so it never really gets used. I always find that I bump my... Did a piece of lace fall off of there? Am I missing? I'm sure there was something there. I've lost it in all of that. But anyway, I'll find it. Maybe I didn't. yeah, so I don't really use the sewing cabinet, but I use it as just a bench. It's directly behind me. It's a great place to put things that I need for a video, and if I ever wanted to store my sewing machine, you know, it's a dust-free space, but I don't seem to anymore. It's just a thing in my room that I use as more of a bench than anything. I do have one of those cutting tables. It's a lot taller and the flaps lift up and it extends out. Haven't used it for years because I don't quilt. So I was using that to lay out backing fabrics to prep for quilting and if I had to pin things. But then I don't really use it a lot because it's at the wrong height. So I find I lean over and it hurts my back after a while. So my room's a bit of a mishmash of all sorts of things, which I think is craft rooms. It's sort of, they evolve, don't they? You pick up random pieces of furniture and, oh, I could use that. And in it goes. So, yeah, that's how I organise my room. I'll have to do a video for you one day, but don't hold your breath. It's a bit of a mess in here, so I'd have to have a pretty good tidy up. We'll see. All right, guys, I've gas bagged on. I've got a lot of sewing to do here. I believe I've lost some flowers in amongst all that. Are they on the bottom of that? They'll turn up. I'll have to go back through the video. I'm sure I had a flower up here. Anyway, it'll turn up. All right, guys, look after yourselves, and I will see you in the next video with the next prompt. It won't be hexagons because we've finished that. Let's have a quick little look. What is it? The next block. So we've done block 3. Block 4, cut work. So that's where we're going to work with this piece. We're going to embroider all the edges and then cut out the background to reveal another fabric underneath. So that'll be a bit of fun. All right, everyone. I will leave you in peace and I'll see you all in the next video. I'll put some pictures at the end of this video of this piece finished so that you can sort of have a look at it without all the pins. All right, guys. Bye for now.